wisdom. Listen, we're going to talk about 2 Samuel 3 and 4, and I'm going to read to you the scriptures, okay? So, 2 Samuel is about the war between the house of Saul and the house of David. And that lasted a long time. So, David grew stronger and stronger while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. Okay? Now, to just break it down to you guys, 2 Samuel 3 is about a kingdom that is divided, okay? The struggle for power after King Saul's death and the consequences of pride, revenge, and political ambition. Now, 2 Samuel 3 also shows how God continues moving his plan forward despite human conflict, okay? Now, 2 Samuel 4 continues this same story, and it's a transition of power from Saul's house to David's house, okay? And so chapter 4 is emphasizing that God establishes leaders through righteousness, not through fear, murder, or political violence, okay? And so this is so you know that when God removes the wrong people from your life, this is what this means, okay? 2 Samuel 3 and 4, and this is this scripture explained, all right? I'm going to read to you a synopsis of the scriptures, okay? So, sons were born to David. He had 6 sons, and they were born in Hebron. Now, in the house of Saul, there was this man named Abner, and he had been strengthening his own position. And Saul had a concubine, right? And her name was Rizpah. And Rizpah and Saul, they slept together. Whoops, sorry. Let me get that together. Hold on. But Saul's son, he had a son, and his son went to Abner, and he asked him, and he said, why did you sleep with my father's concubine? And so Abner, he got angry that I guess his name is Ishbosheth, okay? So Ishbosheth, he had asked him that, okay? And he replied to him, he was like, this is what Abner, his son, and Ishbosheth is having a conversation between each other, and this is what Abner replies to him. Am I a dog's head on, whatever that means, okay? Am I a dog's head on, okay? On Judah's side. Am I a dog's head on Judah's side? Correction, okay? And so this very day, he's saying, this very day, I'm loyal to the house of your father Saul, and to his family and to his friends. And he said, I haven't handed you over to David. Okay, this is what Abner is saying to Ishbosheth, which is Saul's son. And he says, yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman, which is the concubine of Saul. But he had already knew. And then it says in the scripture, it says, may God deal with Abner, be it ever so severely, if I do not do for Daniel what the Lord promised him on oath, and transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul, and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba. All right. So Ishbosheth is Saul's son, and he did not say anything else, okay? He didn't say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him, all right? So then Abner, he sent messengers on his behalf to say to David, he said, whose land is it? And then he told David, he said, hey, let's make an arrangement. He said, make an arrangement with him, and he's going to help bring all Israel down over to him, over to David, okay? He's going to help him bring Israel down and hand them over to King David, or to David. At the time, he wasn't king yet. So David says, good, I will make an agreement with you. But he said, I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal. Michal, or Michal, is the daughter of Saul. Okay, and he says, don't come unless you bring her when you come to see me. So Abner, he sent for her, and he had her taken away from her own husband. But her husband, he was like, I'm gonna follow my wife. And he's following behind his wife, and he's weeping behind her. And then Abner tells him, look, man, just go back home. He tells him, just stop, man, just go back home. Okay? So Abner goes on to confer or have a discussion or conversation with the elders of Israel about them wanting to make David king, right? Because the elders, they wanted to make David a king for some time now. And so he said, do it now. Now do it. Okay? And so Abner, he then goes on and speaks to somebody else. He goes to speak to the tribe of Benjamin. And this is what he's telling them. He went back and he told David, he's like, everything that Israel and the whole tribe of Benjamin wanted to do. And then he had 20 men with him, and David prepared a feast for them. So he's meeting with the tribe of Benjamin. He's learning about everything that they wanted to do with King David. He goes back to tell David all of their plans. And then David has this feast for him and the 20 men that went with Abner. So they're having this dinner, and he's telling him all of this stuff. So he said, let him go at once. Abner said, let me go. I got to go. Let me go at once. So Abner's on a mission, okay? He said, let me go at once and assemble all of Israel for his Lord the king, okay? So that they may make a covenant with him, and that David may rule over all that his heart desired, okay? And so David, he sent Abner away, and he went in peace, okay? So much so, just then, this is when David's men and Joab, they returned from a raid, and they brought with them a great deal of plunder. And that plunder was for Abner, but Abner was no longer with David. He was basically gone because David had already sent him away, and he sent him away in peace. So Joab, he went to the king and he asked him, he said, what have you done? Why did you let him go? So now he's gone. So this is what Abner did. He says to King David, he says, you know, Abner came to deceive you and observe your movements and find out everything you are doing. This is what he's telling him. Okay, so Joab, then he leaves David, and then he sends some messengers to go hunt down Abner. So they're going to look for Abner, and they brought him back. They brought him back over to where David was, right? To King David's group or tribe, okay, area, which is Horab. Wait, what was it? Okay. So then after that, Joab took him inside of a chamber. So this is a chamber where Abner takes, where Joab takes Abner into a chamber as if he's going to have a discussion with him, as if he's going to talk with him. But what happens is Abner ends up getting stabbed by Joab because Joab wants to avenge the death of his brother. All right. So later when David heard about it, because he didn't know that they went and found him and brought him back to where David and everybody in the tribe were. And so he said, I and my kingdom are forever innocent before the Lord concerning the blood of Abner. He said, may his blood fall on the head of Joab and his whole family. May Joab's family never be without someone who has a running sore or leprosy, or who leans on a crutch, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food. Now Joab and his brother, they had murdered Abner because he had killed their brother in battle. And so David then says to Joab and all the people that's with him, he says, hey, tear your clothes off and put on sackcloth and walk in mourning in front of Abner. So King David walked behind them, the bier, okay, which is like the casket, so to speak. And so they buried Abner, and the king, he wept aloud at his tomb, and all the people, they wept as well. So the king sang a lament, okay, which is a song of praise and worship. And after that, the people encouraged the king to eat something while it was still daytime. And the king said to them, He took an oath saying that may God deal with him, be it ever so severely, if he takes bread or anything else before the sun sets. So all the people took note, and they were pleased with him because, of course, he didn't eat anything until the sun set, after the sun set. And so on that day, the people there and all of Israel knew that the king had no part in the murder of Abner. Then the king said to the men that a great commander had fallen. He's referring to Abner. And though he is an anointed king, that David is an anointed king, that he was weak at the time. And he says he's weak, that the sons of Zariah's, they were too strong for him. And then that may the Lord repay the evildoers according to his evil deeds. Okay? So I want to end this message with saying that you are on the right path towards success and abundance for whoever you are. You also are a powerful person, that God is giving you a divine message that significant positive life changes are on the horizon for you. Now, you are in reference to being considered from the strong concordance a lion, or the prince of the people. You are people ruling, okay? And that's the strong Hebrews translation of a number that I saw, and God wanted me to reference it, and it means lion, okay? And then also it means in strong concordance another number that I saw, a loyal friend and advisor to King David, okay? So this means that someone is about to rule or to begin, okay? So that's the message for today. If it applies to your life, then so shall it be. But the moral of this story is when God removes the wrong people from your life, God is removing